जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभ वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरा जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय गौरांगी बेंगलूरीश्वर गौरांगी बेंगलूरीश्वर गौरांगी जय जगन्नाथा बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय सुदर्शना जय निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य निताय चैतन्य जय निताय चैतन्य जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव प्रहलाद नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी मरश्ल प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौरभक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतः सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। हरि ओम तत्सत्। So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class at ISKCON Seshadripuram. So today we will be discussing. One second, I will just share the. So I will share the screen today. Today we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter. The 5th canto is entitled The Creative Impetus, and the 18th chapter that we are going to be summarizing, the first 20 shlokas. The chapter is entitled The Prayers Offered to the Lord by the Residents of Jambudvipa. Let's read the verse now. As usual, I will read the first verse in Sanskrit, and then the subsequent verses we will only read the English translation. Shri Sukha Uvacha Tatacha Bhadrashravanama Dharmasutastat Kulapatayaha Purusha Bhadrashrava Varshe Shakshat Bhagavato Vasudevasya Priyam Tanum Dharmamayim Hayashirshabi Dhanam Paramena Samadhin Param Hayasirashabhidanam paramena samadhina sannidapyedam abhigranta upadhavanti. Word by word meaning. Sorry, we will go with translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Bhadrashrava, the son of Dharmaraja, rules the tract of land known as Bhadrashrava Varsha. Just as Lord Shiva worships Sankarsana in Ila Vrata Varsha, Bhadrashrava, accompanied by his intimate servants and all the residents of the land, worships the plenary expansion of Vasudeva known as Hayashirsha. Lord Hayashirsha is very dear to the devotees, and he is the director of all religious principles. Fixed in the topmost trance, Bhadrashrava and his associates offer their respectful obeisances to the Lord and chant the following prayers with careful pronunciation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tamsa Jeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Branda Vaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, we'll give a little bit of a background to this 18th chapter as we get into it. So, this chapter is, as mentioned here in this verse, is basically glorification of the lordships by the residents of a particular ecosystem or particular planetary system called as Bhumandala. So the Bhumandala is considered to be in the shape of a lotus. With the center there is a the main center place, there is a mountain which is called Sumeru mountain, and it is made of gold. So this is like 84,000 yojanas. 1 yojana is equal to 8 kilometers, something like that. Roughly around 8 kilometers. 8 miles, not kilometers, 8 miles. And I think 1 mile is equal to 1.5 or 1.6 kilometers, something like that. So this is the planetary system we are talking about. In that planetary system is like a lotus flower, and in the center of that there is a Sumeru mountain which is very tall, and in that planetary system there are different planets at different levels, and the lotus flower means it has different worlds like that. So in that there are 7 petals kind of a formation, and in each of those is one, there's maybe some cluster of planetary systems like that. All of this is put together called Bhumandala, and Earth planet is also part of this. So now in this particular chapter, they are describing in each of the worlds of this planetary system the residents of those planetary systems in that particular world, whom they are worshipping like that. So this entire chapter is about that. So each petal, this is the presiding deity of the Lord. Deity, when we say presiding deity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped. He is the ultimate worshipable object, and all over the entire creation, that is the only, this one, it's not like, okay, in this place it is like that. So everywhere it is absolutely that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is worshipped. And of course, since Krishna is ever expanding, he always has so many different forms. In different places, he is worshipped in different forms. But ultimately, everything is the plenary expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So now here we are discussing about the various worlds, and right now in the 20 verses that we are going to discuss, we will discuss about the form of the Lord that is worshipped in the 3 worlds, and who's the main person, and how they are worshipping that Lord, and what prayers they are offering. So that is the background of the whole thing, and that is being summarized in this first verse. Sri Sukadeva Deva Goswami said, Bhadrashrava. So he is the main king for this particular world. The son of Dharmaraja rules the tract of land known as Bhadrashrava Varsha. So that Varsha is that world, or the petal, or whatever, however you can imagine that the universe, in which the different planetary systems. This is mind-boggling. We can't comprehend it, but we understand it. They say, okay, a lotus petal. So in the space, the sky or space, we call it. It's a huge formation like a lotus flower, and different clusters of planetary systems are there, one like that in different, and in the center there is a Meru mountain, and that Meru mountain is actually holding up to all these planetary systems, and the Earth is also dependent, being held up by that Meru mountain is what is written. And each of it is always inhibited by different souls with different physical properties according to the situation there. Sometimes it is water, sometimes all these things we are seeing. The soul is Sarvagataha, he is present everywhere, and therefore in all these planetary systems there are living entities, and these are all very highly elevated living entities, and they worship the Lord in different forms. So this one is Bhadrashrava, and in that Bhadrashrava Varsha, that world. Just as Lord Shiva worships Sankarshana in Ila Vrita Varsha. So Lord Shiva in his place, he worships Sankarshana. And Bhadrashrava, accompanied by his intimate servants and all the residents of the land, worships the plenary expansions of Vasudeva known as Hayasirsha. So the form of the Lord that is being worshipped in this Varsha is Hayasirsha. Who is Hayasirsha is being described here. Lord Hayasirsha is very dear to the devotees, and he is the director of all religious principles. So maybe all the Vedas and all of that is actually under the control of Hayasirsha. Fixed in the topmost trance, Bhadrashrava and his associates offer their respectful obeisances to the Lord and chant the following prayers with careful pronunciation. So this is written there with careful pronunciation. I am thinking how I pronounce Sanskrit and the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. But maybe in Kali Yuga we have got some exemption that all are not very intelligent, not very capable. So the Lord has given the mercy. Okay, you somehow chant something. Instead of not chanting anything, you chant something. So we are all trying. So there is no purport to this. So we go to the second verse. The ruler Bhadrashrava and his intimate associates utter the following prayers. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all religious principles. Again, that reservoir of all religious principles, because he is the predominating deity, the Hayasirsha, who cleanses the heart of the conditioned soul in this material world. Again and again we offer our respectful obeisances unto him. So this is the beginning of the prayers, where he is again identified as the reservoir of all religious principles, who is the protector of the Vedas, and who cleanses the heart of the conditioned soul in the material world. Again and again we offer our respectful obeisances unto him. So Prabhupada is writing that these foolish materialistic persons do not know that they are being controlled and punished again and again in every step by the law of nature. Why? Because they are so much conditioned into this material world and their heart is full of this dirt. Here if you see this verse, the prayer is about the Lord who is cleansing the heart of these material desires, and these souls which are here in this material world are completely contaminated with this material consciousness. And that's why Prabhupada is writing foolish materialistic persons. So that's why he's saying in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord talks about these jivas as mudas or rascals. Na mam dushkrutino mudaha prapadyante naradamaha. So he is basically talking about these souls which are here in this material world, who are foolishly thinking that this is the place for ultimate enjoyment, and into the blind indulgence in sense gratification. So he is saying the human form of life is meant for purification. The human form of life is meant for purification, so that the soul can remove all the contaminations in the consciousness and can become situated in its original constitutional position, and thereby stop this repeated birth, death and old age and disease and go back to the Godhead. So this is the objective, but unfortunately the living entities are so much lost. That is why it is mentioned tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam sudyate. This is the instructions of King Rishabhadev to his sons. Prabhupada says, in the human form of life, one must undergo all kinds of austerities to purify his existence. Yasmad Brahma Saukyam Tvi Anantam. So the original situation is one should be in Brahma Saukyam. That means the desire to enjoy is always there. But what is actually that Saukyam? Saukyam is that, the blissful state of happiness, or, the enjoyment of, that state of happiness. But really, the actual happiness is Brahma Saukyam, is what is being mentioned here. Brahma Saukyam means spiritual happiness, not this material happiness. In this material world, Prabhupada says there is some happiness here and there, like, it's like a very small glimpse of what you can really experience, but we are only hankering for the small glimpse of that real happiness. But actually we should aspire for the Brahma Saukyam, spiritual happiness. So we will go to the, therefore he is also quoting, therefore Prahalad Maharaj points out, Maya Sukaya Brahma Udbhahato Vimudan. Merely for temporarily materialistic happiness, these rascals are making huge arrangements, and thus they are baffled life after life. So this is Maharaja Prahalad's prayer, and he is making this statement, and he is basically lamenting about the status of the material consciousness of the living entities, and in pain he is saying, oh, these rascals, they will never change. He is really pained. Actually, all these Vaishnavas, Prabhupada also, like, sometimes when he sees this behavior of people all around, in pain he calls them rascals. Sometimes people say, oh, why is Prabhupada calling rascals? How can he know? He's really having so much love for the living entities. Why are these fellows like this? That is the way it is interpreted, and therefore he is saying, these rascals, they are not changing. But it is not meant with a negative connotation, but because he has so much love, we also say, right, our children and all. When they do something wrong, we scold them, but that mood is actually with a lot of care and love, and the pain that they are not doing well. That is the mood in which Prabhupada, all Vaishnavas have that mood. Their mood is always that let me undergo all difficulties and pains, but my idea is to elevate these poor jivas who are, because of ignorance, are actually suffering in this material world. That is the mood of all Vaishnavas. The next verse. Alas, how wonderful is it that the foolish materialistics does not heed the great danger of impending death. He knows that death will surely come, yet he is nevertheless careless and neglectful. If his father dies, he wants to enjoy his father's property. And the worst thing is, and if the son dies, he wants to enjoy his son's possessions as well. In either case, he heedlessly tries to enjoy material happiness with the acquired money. So this is a very strong statement. People don't realize that death will come to me one day. So people just simply knowingly, there's one song, no? I think this is this Vipale, Hari Hari Vipale. There he says, I am knowingly drunk poison. Janiya Vishakaina, like that, knowingly I drink the poison. So great devotees sing this so beautifully. I'm remembering this song by one of the great wonderful devotees, Agnidev Prabhu. He just left the world, and he sings this so beautifully. Okay, so Prabhupada is saying, in the second section where they are saying, right, when the son dies, the father enjoys his property. Sometimes, this is very crude actually. Prabhupada writes, sometimes when the son dies, sometimes the father won't even enjoy the widow of the son. This is so corrupt consciousness that is there. This is the thing about this material world. So, it's sometimes, why even talk about such things? But this is all happening in this material world. And this place is so much contaminated. So to bring about the depth of that, Prabhupada is writing about these things. In this purport, he is writing about these things. And he says, according to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, sons always outlive their fathers in other planetary systems and other lands in this universe. Actually speaking, if everything is going as per Dharma, then a father will never see his son's death. Any father in that entire planetary system, no father will see the death of the son. But in today's material world, if you see, particularly in Kali Yuga, there are many a times the father has to perform the last rites of the son. This is very cruel, but that never happens in if everybody, the population is very pious. So that is what Vishwanatha Chakravarti is saying. System and other lands in this universe, especially on Swargaloka. However, on this planet Earth, a son often dies before his father, and the materialistic father is pleased to enjoy the possession of his son. Neither the father nor the son can see the reality that both of them are awaiting death. With death comes, however, all their plans for material enjoyment are finished. So very strong words, but Bhagavatam is all about that, to wake up the sleeping soul, right? The blissful state of material consciousness. Oh, everything is good. I am so happy, so blissful. My life is perfect. I have all that I need, and I will continue to get all that I need. This is our mindset. But it's like Prabhupada writes, that goat which is standing outside that butcher thing, they tied the neck to some pole is there, and they have put some grass, and the goat is simply eating happily that grass while he is seeing the bodies hanging inside the shop, upside down they are hanging these goats. That it does not realize, I am going to be the next fellow hanging there, but he is happily eating the grass. Prabhupada gives this example. If you want to be very strong, most of the time we are also like that. We are simply not even worried, I am going to be next, but I want to enjoy, let me make arrangements, let me see how best I can enjoy my life. So this is the reality which is showing the mirror, they say, right? So he's showing the mirror here. Of course, we do realize this, and as devotees, we realize this literally every day. We hear Bhagavatam, we read Bhagavatam. But even as devotees, we tend to forget, right? This is the most amazing thing. I think there is one story of, Dharmaraj. I think all his brothers sort of die, and how to revive them. So he's going, he's praying there, and one of the, demigod, someone come and say, okay, I will revive them, but will you answer one question? What is that question? What is the most amazing thing? What is the most amazing thing? If you can answer this question, I will revive your brothers. So he will say, the most amazing thing is that death is awaiting for everyone, but everybody thinks I will live eternally. Something like that. Then yes, this is the correct answer. So all these brothers are revived. So even as devotees, sometimes we take it for granted. Oh, chalo, it's okay, we will see. Of course, we also know we never die, and devotees, Prabhupada says, Vaishnavas never perish. But that is in a different context. But the fact is, we should, when the minute we say that die, the body, the idea is we should not come back to in another body. So what are we doing towards that? Then death is fine. But then if I am going to take another body, I would rather not die. I would continue to reform myself to a state where I don't want to come back, to perfect ourselves like that. That should be our motive. That we perfect our life this time itself, so that next time there is no more birth. No birth in this material world. Next verse. O unborn one, learned Vedic scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable. Those scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable. as do other logicians and philosophers. In trance, they realize the factual position of this world. This is what it is. In trance, we realize this factual position. Every day when sitting in Bhagavatam class, we understand this perfectly. Absolutely no doubt in our mind. Yet, even they are sometimes bewildered by your illusory energy. That is the minute we walk out of the Bhagavatam class. This is your own wonderful pastime. Again, this is also the wonderful pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing is because of, I am so great, I can be in illusion. No, you are put into illusion. Of course, we can't give that as the reason. Anyway, it is Lord's doing, let me be under illusion. That is another illusion. Therefore, I can understand that your illusory energy is very wonderful, and I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So we have discussed this already in many ways. If there are any specific slokas Prabhupada is writing here, no, he is not quoting any verses, even though he says, therefore, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mam eva ye prapadyante mayan etan tarantite. Only those who surrender unto me can overcome the influence of the material energy. So that is the most important thing. Therefore, he has got these wonderful potencies by which he can, even the learned scholars are falling into this illusion. Why learned scholars? Even Lord Shiva, who is only second to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, he also can fall under illusion, under the spell of the Lord's energy. So very, very difficult, and therefore our only way is, if we have to be out of this clutch, then one has to completely surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then he personally takes care and not his energy. Under that, we are never under illusion. The three modes of material nature does not work on one who is completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can see this with all the great Acharya, Srila Prabhupada himself, and many of our, we are also seeing that our spiritual masters who are Prabhupada's disciples and sometimes grand disciples, they are exhibiting these characteristics. That it is when you completely surrender onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then they are released from the three modes of material nature, from this illusionary concept of life. Next verse. O Lord, although you are completely detached from the creation, maintenance and annihilation of this material world and are not directly affected by these activities, they are all attributed to you. We do not wonder at this, for your inconceivable energies perfectly qualify you to be the cause of all causes. You are the active principle in everything, although you are separate from everything. Thus, we can realize that everything is happening because of your inconceivable energy. So, this is the understanding of a devotee. Prabhupada has not given a purport, but from this verse only, direct English, some things are very clear. This is the way a devotee understands that. If you really see, he says, you are not getting caught up in your own energy. But a Mayavadi, how does he think? When Lord Rama comes to this material world, he is also subjected to this material things, and therefore he is going through his karma. This is how their commentary is on such things. And even on Lord Krishna, that he is a big failure in life. I've seen such commentaries that it's a big failure. Whatever he tried did not materialize. He wanted to marry Radha, that did not happen. He had to leave his hometown. That kind of a commentary comes. Very sad to see such things. But here it is, devotee's way of understanding is very clear. You are not directly affected by these activities, but they are all attributed to you. And he says, we do not wonder, because these fellows wonder how the Lord, but he himself is subject. That kind of a confusion comes in their head. But a devotee never wonders. He is very clear in his head. I know the Lord, even if he comes here, he is not subject. He is always the Supreme. There is no iota of material contamination in him. These are all very basics, ABCD for a devotee's consciousness. But the so-called other people, even the great philosophers is mentioned, right? They all get confused. They fall into that illusion. Your inconceivable energies perfectly qualify you to be the cause of all causes. Therefore, you are not into that effect of that cause, but you are yourself the cause. You are the active principle in everything. Therefore, there's nothing what we sometimes materially classify as good or bad, but in everything he is the active principles. That is why in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned, what is that? You are the cheat of the gambler, something like that. So there also he is the active principle. If there is something negative, what we materially classify, but there is nothing which is not part of the Lord. Everything is coming from the Lord. And although you are separate from everything, that doesn't mean you are contaminated. Okay, next. 6th verse. At the end of the millennium, ignorance personified assumes the form of a demon, stole all the Vedas and took them down to the planet of Rasatala. The Supreme Lord, however, in his form of Hayagriva, retrieved the Vedas and returned them to Lord Brahma when he begged for them. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, whose determination never fails. See, these prayers we can also chant. Of course, Prabhupada always writes under the directions, under the guidance of the spiritual master. But these prayers, whatever these great, devotees are praying, if we can pray, it purifies our consciousness. We will see this here later somewhere, or maybe here in this verse itself. He says that, the Lord actually sitting inside our heart, he cleanses us, and all of these things about the thought about the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, our hearing about the pastimes, glories of the Lord actually cleanses the heart of all these misgivings. So he says how this, the demon, the ignorance personified, it is mentioned here, it becomes a demon and he steals away all the Vedic, the Vedic texts. And Lord Hayagriva actually retrieves them, is mentioned. Now here Prabhupada writes, although Vedic knowledge is imperishable, right? The Vedas, they are always existing. Krishna is always existing. These two are always permanently there. Then how is it that, if someone can actually, the Vedas disappear from the world? It does not disappear. It is always there. It is imperishable. Within this material world, it sometimes manifests and sometimes not. When the people of this material world become too absorbed in ignorance, the Vedic knowledge, it disappears. So this is the meaning. So earlier, people knew how to do all the Vedic rituals, everything. Today we don't know. That is because we are in ignorance. Kali Yuga is full of ignorance, and therefore the Vedics, all the principles, they seem to have left in this world. Lord Hayagriva or Lord Matsya, however, always protects the Vedic knowledge, and in due course of time it is again distributed through the medium of Lord Brahma, who is the most trustworthy representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Next verse. Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, Lord Narsimhadeva resides in the tract of land known as Harivarsha. In the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I shall describe to you how Prahalad Maharaj caused the Lord to assume the form of Narsimhadeva. Prahalad Maharaj, the topmost devotee of the Lord, is a reservoir of all the good qualities of great personalities. His character and activities have delivered all the fallen members of his demoniac family. Lord Narsimhadeva is very dear to this exalted personality. Thus Prahalad Maharaj, along with the servants and all the denizens of Harivarsha, worship Lord Narsimhadeva by chanting the following mantra. So that first Varsha, the first world is described and that is completed. This is the second world of the planetary systems which are there. In that planetary system, the great devotee Prahalad Maharaj took birth. And there the Lord is worshipped in the form of Narsimhadeva because of this wonderful pastime of Prahalad Maharaj and Narsimhadevi in that particular world of this Bhu Mandala. There these pastimes happen, and Narsimhadeva is the presiding form of the Lord which the residents worship there. And whatever prayers they are going to give, we will be seeing it here. And Prabhupada is writing. And that's how, in each of these planetary systems, one incarnation of the Lord is there. That is why Prabhupada is quoting Jayadeva Goswami's 10 prayers worshipping, right? The केशवद्रेता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे. That in that he is quoting Keshavadrita Meena Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Then Keshavadreta Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. So like this Narasimhadev is also described, and here Prabhupada is quoting Brahma Samhita Chintamani Prakara Sadbhava Kalpa Vriksha Lakshaswate Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desires in abodes built with spiritual gems and surrounded by millions of purpose trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. From this verse, we learn that Govinda or Krishna is the Adi Purusha or the original person. The Lord has innumerable incarnations, exactly like innumerable waves of a flowing river. But the original form of Krishna or Keshava. Original form is Krishna or Keshava. So that there we saw Hayagriva, here Narasimhadev. For that Prabhupada is explaining that all of these forms are all having the original root in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or also called as Keshava. We'll see the next one, 8th verse. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Narasimhadeva, the source of all power. O my Lord, who possesses nails and teeth just like thunderbolts, kindly vanquish our demon-like desire for fruitive activity in this material world. Please appear in our hearts and drive away our ignorance so that by your mercy we may become fearless in the struggle for existence in this material world. Prabhupada is quoting in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sanat Kumaras are speaking like this. Yat pada pangacha pallava vilasa bhaktya. Like this. In that verse, the translation goes, devotees always engaged in the service of the toe of the Lord's lotus feet can very easily become free from hard-knotted desire for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and the yogis cannot stop the wave of sense gratification, although they try to do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So the point here is, if someone is able to meditate on the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, so the toe of the Lord, then the hard knotted desires for fruitive activities will go away. So if all of us, or I don't know, I can talk for myself, that desire for fruitive activities, if it is there in our hearts, then if we can meditate on the toe of the lotus feet of the Lord, then this hard knotted desire for fruitive activities will go away. So this strong desire to enjoy this material body is there in all living entities, Prabhupada writes. Therefore, the conditioned soul must accept one body after another, and thus his strongly fixed fruitive desires continue. So this fruitive desires continue, and because of the desires we keep getting another body, so this rotation keeps happening. One cannot stop the repetition of birth and death without being completely desireless. So the underlying aspect is how to come to this point of not having any desires. When you say desireless, one should be very clear. Desireless for material activities, not desireless for spiritual activities. You should attach to spiritual activity and detach from material consciousness. This is the actual instructions given to us. And therefore Prabhupada is quoting Rupa Goswami's definition of what is pure bhakti: anya bilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavratam anukulyena krishnanu sevanam bhaktir uttamam. Anukulyena krishnanu sevanam, that is important. We should favorably be disposed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and perform services to Him. That is pure devotional service. And this Hiranyakashipu in this here Narsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu is a personification of this desire. Hiranyakashipu means this golden soft bed. That means basically sense gratification. They say gold, women, land, bed. These are all related to enjoyment in material consciousness. So Hiranyakashipu is a personification of such a character which is mentioned. In that sense, Hiranyakashipu is there in every living entity. Ravana is there in every living entity. It is not like, oh, Ravana is such a bad man, That consciousness there in every human, every living entity, in some form and shape. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu is there. All the demoniac principles. That is why they, in Kali Yuga it said, it is fully, all of these demons are together inside each human body. What to do? If it is one person like Ravana, one person Hiranya, okay, you kill him. But all of these demons inside one body, and all the bodies have such things in Kali Yuga. Therefore, no point in killing the body. You actually go and clean inside their consciousness, so all these demons are thrown out of the consciousness of this soul. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. And he wanted to give the Harinama Sankirtan, which will actually cleanse the heart of all these misgivings. So that is this one for this Kali Yuga. Next verse. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. These are all, actually these 20 verses, many of them have got long purports in a way that, and very deep. So it's a long, we can do 3 hours class on this entire subject. I'm trying to shrink, but it's already 1 hour, I think. No, almost going to be 1 hour in another 10 minutes. But we will try to do justice whatever extent possible. So here he is saying that Prahlad Maharaj is praying that, please pacify all these envious persons, because this is what is actually burning, right, in all the human beings. This envy, boiling, that is creating so much of ripple effect all over the universe, and the whole thing is vibrating with so much of negative energy because of this envy, particularly in this Kali Yuga state of situation. That's why he's saying the devotees are, their state is described as Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Prabhupada is quoting, just like a desired tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself but for all the living entities. The gentle, the envious and the mischievous. He is praying for everyone. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. So, this Vaishnava culture, Prabhupada brought it to this world, and he has taken it to the entire universe so that this envy can be calmed down. And all people becomes mellowed down and start thinking about the welfare of other people. Then this whole world can become actually spiritual world. Prabhupada said it is possible. We can make this earth into a spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavata Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free of envy. Parama Nirmat nirmatsaranam, it is mentioned, right? Therefore, Prahalad Maharaj plays in this verse, Kalaha prasiddhatam, may all the envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in the social dealings and can think of others' welfare, right? If you lose your envy, you become liberal. Very, very deep. When we are envious, we are very self-centered. The minute we start losing this enviousness, we become more all-inclusive, we become more accommodative. Right? Oh, yeah, very nice, he has got that, very nice. The minute we start saying like that, no, how can he have it? Then, that's narrowing the whole thing. But the minute we are able to appreciate, yes, very nice, he has it, very nice, she has it, very good that, they are doing this. The minute we become more liberal, then our thing expands. Consciousness expands. And can think of others' welfare. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord, cleanses his mind of all envy. Manascha Badram Bhajatat Adokshade, Prabhupada is writing for this translation. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Narsimha Deva to sit in our hearts. We should pray Bahir Narsimho Hridayo Narsimha. Sing, we said Bahir Narsimha Hridayo Narsimha. This is for the meaning. Let Lord Narsimha sit in the core of my heart, killing all the bad propensities. Let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Not only I become peaceful, I make the whole world peaceful. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur of Prabhupada says has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benedictions from him. Even pure Nishkama devotees pray for some benediction. As instructed by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a Sikshashtakam, Ayinandana Tanujam Kinkaram Patitam Mam Visame Bhavan Bhujam Kripaya Tava Pada Pankachau Sita Duli Sadrasham Vichintaye. O son of Maharaja Nanda, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. So this is a desire, asking for something. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmaneshware Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaituki. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. When Prahalad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narsimhaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord. But because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. And he says, the first desire expressed in his prayer is Swasti Astu Viswasya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. Prahalad Maharaj thus requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. So this is all about this envy, and to reduce this envy, what all can be done? That is what is being discussed in this entire verse. He says, according to Chanakya Pandita, there are two kinds of envious person. One is the snake and one is the human being. And Prabhupada says, even the human being, the snake's envy, that envy is translated into poison, actually. And it is also mentioned, anyone who's very envious in this life, he will become a snake in his next life. Very, very dangerous. We can't even imagine a snake, the form of the snake, right? It's very... But if one is, in his life, cumulatively building up this envy, then it transforms that person into a snake. And here it is mentioned, even a snake can actually, Prabhupada is writing, even a snake can be controlled with mantras. But this envious human, it is very difficult to control, or he can never be controlled. This is mentioned, and this is very difficult. So envy is very broad. We need to, that itself is a very deep analysis of what all can be envious. But this we should be very, very, very mindful and very, very cautious not to feel envious of anything. Even in devotional life we feel envious. Someone else is doing something better than us. Okay, let it be devotional service. I can say, no, it is because I want to serve the Lord. I am thinking like that. No. If someone is doing better, one should feel happy. Oh, yes, this is nice. But not that, people generally have this tendency. Even sometimes, no, this everything is spiritual. Sometimes we even say, envy is going on even in the spiritual world. Prabhupada mentioned. That's all fine. Prabhupada has also said Brahma has fallen down. So we can say, Brahma has himself fallen down, why I should bother? Prabhupada says, no, you should be now very careful. If Brahma can fall down, what is my state? Rather than think, in spiritual world also envy is going on, so let me not worry about that. They say, no, in ISKCON, this envy is a rasa, all these things. Envy means what? The spirit of fighting, which is basically coming out of envy, right? And nothing else. This is a rasa, let's move on with it. No. Yeah, it is there. I know we need to, therefore it is there. How do we reconcile? So better we move on. But that is true. I accept that. We can't run away from ISKCON. We have to be here. So if there is something, fine, you accommodate, you understand this is part of the package. But that doesn't mean that we should not try to cleanse ourselves of these thoughts. How can we still try to cleanse ourselves and go with minimum envy to the spiritual world? Even if it is there in spiritual world, because Prabhupada said it is there maybe, Prabhupada said, no, this is going on there also, he mentioned once. I have read that. But that doesn't mean, we should carry a lot of it and go, because Prabhupada said it is there. So, we should see how we can reduce this. These are all from Bhagavatam, right? Prahalad Maharaj is so worried about all these people who are envious. Next. Okay, I will run fast now. My dear Lord, we pray that we may never feel attraction for the prison of family life, consisting of home, wife, children, family, bank balance, relatives, and so on. If we do have some attachment, let it be for devotees whose only dear friend is Krishna. A person who is actually self-realized and who has controlled his mind is perfectly satisfied with the bare necessities of life. He does not try to gratify his senses. Such a person quickly advances in Krishna consciousness, whereas others who are too attached to material things find advancement very difficult. So Prabhupada says, one can control his desire by consuming prasadam. See, he says, right? He says, one must have a material body and it must be maintained for executing devotional service. The body can be maintained very easily by eating Krishna prasadam. Patram pushpam phalam toyam is quoting that when you take this prasadam, these things are slowly, contaminations are removed. That is why they say always take Krishna prasadam, because this envy will go away in course of time. Next. By associating with persons for whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda is the all in all, one can hear of his powerful activities and soon come to understand them. The activities of Mukunda are so potent that simply by hearing of them one immediately associates with the Lord. For a person who constantly and very eagerly hear narrations of the Lord's powerful activities, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead in the form of sound vibration enters within his heart and cleanses it of all contamination. On the other hand, although bathing in the Ganges diminishes bodily contaminations and infections, this process And the process of visiting holy places can cleanse the heart only after a long time. Therefore, who is the sane man who will not associate with devotees to quickly perfect his life? So the summary is, a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, one should hanker for association with such great personalities because they have the potency to cleanse our hearts. And how will they cleanse it? They will cleanse it with the soap which is called Harinam. Krishna's activities, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's paraphernalia, everything about which they have information. And the more they inject that into our ear and therefore into our heart, that soap will remove all the contaminations of the heart. And therefore the association with great personalities is important. And Prabhupada is quoting, even Ganga or other holy places, they can clean the external ones. Ganga particularly Prabhupada is writing, even including infections. And also it can, Ganga and the holy places can clean the contamination in the heart also, but it will take a long time. But a devotee, a pure devotee of the Lord, when we quickly take their shelter, we become very quickly purified. Shunvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridi antahastohi abadrani vidunoti shrutus satam. The Supreme Lord within everyone's heart become very pleased when a person hears narrations of his activities, and he personally cleanses the dirt from the mind of the listener. This is what I was telling initially when we were discussing second, third verse, we were discussing this. The Lord personally sitting inside our heart as Paramatma will cleanse once the soul have a desire to hear about Krishna Katha. This is what is the purport here, this Shrunvatam Swakata Krishna. Prabhupada is writing, he personally cleanses the dirt from the mind of the listener. Hridi antastohi abhadrani vidunoti. He washes off all the dirt from the mind. Material existence is caused by dirty things within the mind. If one cleanses his mind, he immediately comes to the original position of Krishna consciousness. And he is also quoting this verse, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regularly hearing the Bhagavatam and rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is practically destroyed. And loving services unto the glorious Lord, who is praised with the transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. This wonderful verse. We sing this, right? Every time before the Bhagavatam class, we sing this. Very nice. Next. All the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities, even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives. He must be driven by his own mental speculation and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? This is the most important thing. If one who is actually becoming a devotee of the Lord, then all the great qualities manifest in him. But on the other hand, a person who is not a devotee of the Lord, but who's got who's trying to endeavor so many things to get all these qualities, it does not manifest. But he is only driven by the external energy of the Lord. That is what has been given here. Then how can such good qualities come into this person? He is in an illusionary situation. In illusion, how can something real happen? So he may materially show some good qualities, but that is not really good qualities. But a devotee, he actually can develop these wonderful good qualities. And the qualities have been listed by Srila Prabhupada here. Let us quickly go through these qualities. There are actually these 26 good qualities. I will just read them out so that we can hear them at least. Krishnadasa Kaviraja lists the following 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. He is very kind to everyone. He does not make anyone his enemy. He is truthful. He is equal to everyone. No one can find any fault in him. He is magnanimous. He is mild. He is always clean. He is without possessions. He works for everyone's benefit. He is very peaceful. He is always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very meek. He is steady. He controls his senses. He does not eat more than required. He is not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. We discussed this. Pure devotee is never influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. He offers respect to everyone. Trinadapi Sunichena. He does not desire any respect for himself. He is very grave. He is merciful. He is friendly. He is poetic. He is expert. He is silent. So, see, actually, people ask, I don't know if I'm improving my devotional life. Actually, if we are able to see some growth in these aspects, then we can measure ourselves that, yes, I am improving in my devotional service, my chanting is having effect, or it is not having effect. There are clear measures. Krishna consciousness is very, very, very scientific. It is not like, okay, these are very subjective matter. You don't know really what will happen. You can say, but no. But if you follow the process, then the results are measurable. These are all very clear definitions of the measures we can find out. Next. Just as aquatics always desire to remain in the vast mass of water, all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, if someone very great by material calculation fails to take shelter of the Supreme Soul, but instead becomes attached to material household life, his greatness is like that of a young low-class couple. One who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. So this is, very clear that one should try to fix himself in some kind of a devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The other material attachment, however good or whatever the person feels the happiness, fine, but try to engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada is writing, no one should waste his time in the so-called happiness of the materialistic household life. In the Vedic civilization, this type of crippled life is allowed only until 150th year, when one must give up family life and enter either the order of the Vanaprastha or Sannyasa, in which one completely takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? That Grahastha Ashrama is only 25% or something like that. Therefore, O demons, give up the so-called happiness of family life and simply take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadeva, which are the actual shelter of fearlessness. Entanglement in family life is the root cause of materialistic attachment, material attachment, indefatigable desires, moroseness, anger, despair, fear, and the desire for false prestige, all of which result in the repetition of birth and death. No purport here. We'll go to the next one. Sukadeva Goswami continued, in the tract of land called Ketumala Varsha, Lord Vishnu lives in the form of Kamadeva only for the satisfaction of his devotees. These include Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, the Prajapati, Samvatsara, and all of Samvatsara's sons and daughters. The daughters of Prajapati are considered the controlling deities of the night. and his sons are considered the controllers of the day. The Prajapati's offspring number 36,000, one for each day and each night in the lifetime of a human being. At the end of each year, the Prajapati's daughter become very agitated upon seeing the extremely effulgent disk of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus they all suffer miscarriages. So now the two are over, two varshas, two worlds of the lotus are over. We are into the third world, and here the presiding form of the deity that is being worshipped here is Kamadeva. Second one was Narasimhadev, and here it is Kamadeva. This varsha or the land is called Ketumala. And the predominating, the main devotee there is Prajapati, and of course his 36,000 offsprings, daughters and sons, who represent are the demigods for the day and the night. Next. In Ketu Mala Varsha, Lord Kamadeva Pradyumna, we know that Kamadeva is actually Pradyumna and Krishna's son actually, moves very graciously. His mild smile is very beautiful, and when he increases the beauty of his face by slightly raising his eyebrows and glancing playfully, he pleases the goddess of fortune. Thus he enjoys his transcendental senses. So in the first verse of this, when the introduction of Kamadeva is happening, it is mentioned Kamadeva Pradyumna is actually the son of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in fact actually an incarnation of the Lord himself. But here very interestingly Prabhupada is quoting Madhvacharya, and he says, according to Madhvacharya, this form of the Lord which is Pradyumna, that form, the physical body of this Pradyumna is actually material, it is not spiritual. It's very, you have not heard this very often, right? We always say the Lord's form is completely spiritual. So Krishna's form has got nothing to do with our form. So that is like that. But here Prabhupada is writing, Krishna can also assume if he wants the material form. And he's saying that, but that doesn't mean Pradyumna is material. Prabhupada is writing that. Krishna can sometimes assume a material form, material body, but that doesn't mean he is material like the way we are. Okay, now they will go to the next verse. We are into the 17th verse. Accompanied during the daytime by the sons of Prajapati, the predominating deities of the days, and accompanied at night by his daughters, the deities of the nights, Lakshmi Devi worshipped the Lord during the period known as Samvatsara in his most merciful form as Kamadeva. Fully absorbed in devotional service, she chants the following mantra. So here, Lakshmi Devi is actually the main person who's leading the entire devotional service, and how she is praying is actually being discussed here. Verse. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hrishikesha, the controller of all my senses and the origin of everything. As the Supreme Master of all bodily, mental and intellectual activities, he is the only enjoyer of their results. The 5 sense objects and 11 senses, including the mind and his partial manifestations, he supplies all the necessities of life, which are his energy and thus non-different from him. And he is the cause of everyone's bodily and mental prowess, which is also non-different from him. Indeed, he is the husband and the provider of necessities for all living entities. The purpose of all the Vedas is to worship him. Therefore, let me offer him our respectful obeisances. May he always be favorable towards us in this life and the next. So we will go to the next one. 19th. My dear Lord, you are certainly the fully independent master of all the senses. Therefore, all women who worship you by strictly observing vows because they wish to acquire a husband to satisfy their senses are surely under illusion. They do not know that such a husband cannot actually give protection to them or their children, nor can he protect their wealth or duration of life. For he himself is dependent on time, fruitive results, and the modes of nature, which are all subordinate to you. I will read the next verse also, then we will discuss together. He alone who is never afraid, but who on the contrary gives complete shelter to all fearful persons, can actually become a husband and protector. Therefore, my Lord, you are the only husband and no one else can claim this position. If you were not the only husband, you would be afraid of others. Therefore, persons learned in all Vedic literature accept only your lordships as everyone's master, and they think no one else a better husband and protector than you. So this is a very important concept, right? These two verses are explaining Kamadeva. A lot of women go and ask for nice, very good husbands, but in reality there can be no such husband. Particularly in Kali Yuga, everybody realizes this. There is no perfect husband. Right? Women who are married will understand this. There is no perfect husband. So, it is mentioned, Prabhupada is quoting this, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum. So, this Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, this Krishna is the only perfect and ultimate and eternal Purusha, enjoyer. Everybody else is very, actually part of Prakriti. So, maybe we have a male body sometimes we may have a very powerful body, but that doesn't mean that that body is the enjoyer. Everything is actually under the control of the original enjoyer, and therefore this one becomes feminine, in relative terms. So, you are not the enjoyer. There is someone else who is enjoying you, means that that person is the actual Purusha. You are only feminine in that sense. So that is the concept that has been explained. And the Lord, it is mentioned in the Ishopanishad, it is said, Tene Tyaktena Bunjita. The Lord provides everything with his quota. Actually, however, every living entity is Prakriti or female, and Krishna is the only husband. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabha Britya Yare Eiche Nachaya Se Taiche Kara Nritya. Krishna is the original master of or husband of everyone, and all other living entities, having taken the form of so-called husbands or wives, are dancing according to his desires. A so-called husband may unite with his wife for sense gratification, but his senses are conducted by Rishikesha. His senses are conducted by Rishikesha, the master of the senses, who is therefore the actual husband. So the male body may think he is associating with women, but that sense is actually controlled by Rishikesha. So he is the actual Purusha. This is the thing. And it is given, right, when we read a Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Shankaracharya has given the, what do you call that? The beginning. The Gita, what is that? Gita Mahatmya.
Gita Mahatmya.
Gita Mahatmya. So he is saying there, no? Eko Deva Devaki Putra. So there is only one Lord and there is only one Son. There it is also mentioned, if at all you think of someone as your son, please think of Krishna as your son. Because Krishna is permanent. The other son can give you dukkha. Sometimes they die and give you dukkha. Very nice son, takes care of us very well, everything. But if he dies, that also gives dukkha. So Krishna, like that, Krishna is actually the best of husbands for every living entity. Don't think about male, female, dog, cat, nothing. All are souls. And for everyone, Krishna is the shelter. Krishna is the actual master. So with this we will finish. I am over by around 20 minutes than the time given to me. We can now have, if there are any questions or comments, welcome. Hare Krishna. So we have effectively seen three different planetary systems and who is the presiding, or who is the deity form which is being worshipped? Who's the Lord's deity form which is being worshipped there? Who are the predominant devotees there, and what are their prayers? So that is the summary of today's class. Hare Krishna.